Okay, so one of the products we'll be using is something called Dynamat, and there's a few different products out there like this. It's basically a heavy stick-on application that you can put on the inside of the door panels and the wall panels of any vehicle. And basically it keeps it from vibrating and resonating when you're driving down the road. So obviously this big van is just a giant resonator. I've had these trim panels off the sides before, and there's nothing lining the insides of the doors or the side panels of this van. So we're driving down the road, especially on these knobby tires, those things are just vibrating. So I'm going to stick this stuff on. You don't have to cover all of the panel. I think it's just a small percentage of it is enough to keep that sort of like resonating happening on those panels. And I'm going to start cutting and pasting it onto the panels. So starting with the doors seems like a good place to start as any. They're pretty easy to access. I can stand here comfortably and it's a small place to start. We'll pop the trim panels off, see what's behind there, and get the first bit of Dynamat mounted. Okay, so I've washed and degreased both of these areas. This is the inside, this is the outside, so this is the door skin. You want to clean that really well. It was very dirty. You can see the rest of this is dirty just because stuff gets kicked up. And then you want to use a degreaser to get anything off of there. And like Windex is a great degreaser. You don't need anything more serious than that. So I don't need to cover the entire panel with Dynamat. I certainly could, and that would be the most effective. But if you did that everywhere on this van, A, it would be very expensive, and B, it would also be very heavy. This stuff is not light, which is what helps keep everything from resonating. But I'm gonna cover maybe 1/4 to 50% of each of these panels, and that should be good enough. So I'm just gonna take some measurements and kind of get a rough size. So this panel is about 22 by 18. So I might do like a, I don't know, like a 10 by 6 or 10 by 8 sheet roughly. Okay, so I've got my Dynamat laid out here on just a piece of wood here on the garage floor, and I'm just gonna measure and mark this and cut my piece. Cut to here. Okay, that's pretty easy to cut through. So I've got my two pieces cut. This one's for this panel, this one's for this panel, and this is nice and dry and clean now. So I'm gonna peel and stick this right here like this. I'm gonna kind of get it started. Okay, so the other tool you're gonna want is this roller. It's not necessary, but it does make it a lot easier to really press this stuff in and get it to stick. So I'm just gonna roll that and make sure I get it to conform to the shape of the body panel. Yeah, you can hear the difference already. This without the Dynamat and that with. So, I mean, it's not gonna be like the car's completely quiet just because this stuff is on here, but it is going to be a lot better. We'll see how it sounds when I get this other piece on. So before, after. I think that's a lot better. I don't know if that's coming through the camera or not, but that makes me happy. So that's how you install the Dynamat. Now, while I have the door panel off, I'm going to go ahead and do the next part, which is get the Havelock Wool in here. The second half of this project is to actually insulate the van. So the insulation I've chosen to use is a wool. It's from a company called Havelock. They get very good reviews. It's not cheap. It was especially expensive to get up here in Alaska, but I think it's the best that you can reasonably get. So that's what I wanted to use. The advantages of wool are that it is resistant to mold, and also you can handle it without any special equipment. Other fiberglass insulations, like you need to wear a respirator and gloves because it can be an irritant and it's very bad if you get in your lungs. Working with this stuff is very easy. It's very safe. You don't really need to keep any precautions at all. All right. So there's the first piece right here, Havelock Wool. I'm excited. So yeah, I'll see how much I can get into the door here. Okay, so these are the sections that the wool comes in. I don't know if I'm gonna double it up to get it thick or exactly what I'm gonna do yet. This is being the first one. So I'm just gonna kind of get it in here and see how it goes. Maybe I'll do it like Having never done this before, I don't know if that's really too much or just enough. But that seems like that's taking up the space pretty well without compressing the wool too much. You don't really want to smash it down because that takes away all the R value. But yeah, I think that's pretty much how it's going to go on. So one door done. All right, and now we'll do the same thing on this door. It's a little bit more complicated. There's a few screws to get out of here, so I'll just get those out and then pop the panel off. Okay. So same process as before. I'm gonna clean and decrease the panels, cut my Dynamat to the size I think it'll need. The side doors went pretty well and actually pretty quickly, so I'm gonna keep going and actually just move on to the rear doors before then taking on the larger interior panels of the van. It'll be the same process, pop off the panels, apply the Dynamat, and then put the wool in and throw the panel back on. That's gone pretty smoothly so far, so I am going to now start on the larger panels on the inside of the van. So I'll get the trim off of here and we'll take a gander at what we're looking at. Okay, so that's not too bad. It's pretty clean actually. I think the thing we're gonna run into is actually holding the wool against that panel. I know some people run string through there and put the wool behind the string. That's not a bad idea. All right, so I'm gonna start by getting some Dynamat cut. All right, so in order to hold the wool against this panel, I'm gonna tie some string across here so it doesn't just fall away from the panel when I put it in. Not sure if the string was helping or hurting there. I think it might be easier to maybe get the wool up and put the string on after. I'm not sure. Still working out the method on that. Maybe we'll do a little better on this side. But yeah, now I'm going to start taking the long wall out. So we'll start by taking the panels off the back and work our way forward. So on this side of the van, as you can see, there is the rear HVAC system. This is because this is a passenger van and not the cargo van. What I think I'll do is I can have decent access behind this major bit here, so I'm not going to bother that. Might just take this little bit off. It just has a couple of plastic clips that'll allow me to get to that larger panel, and I think that should be good enough. Put this thing apart without breaking. I got that rear section done. It's time to take the second row seat out and remove the rest of the trim panel on that side. I'm going to start with the string because these are big open panels and there's nothing really to keep the wool in there at all, so string first. All right, it was a bit of a struggle, but I have all the HVAC ducting back on, so it's time to reattach the trim panels. All right, so the back of the van is done, except for the headliner. I was peeking at it back there when I was putting the upper trim panels back on. There is a little bit of an air gap, so I think I could fit some insulation up there, and I could certainly put Dynamat up there, and that would keep the oil canning from happening. So we're back for day 2 of applying Dynamat and wool insulation. As you can see, I've got the headliner down, and yep, that's a lot of space up there to have to fill. I can't quite get the headliner out of here because all the seat belts are tied through it, and the clips to try and get the little trim around the seat belts are just a little too difficult to mess around with. So I'm going to try and do it with just the headliner lowered, and then once I get that stuff in place, I'll just pop it right back up. So hopefully it'll go quickly, and hopefully this will have a good effect on keeping the van nice and quiet. So another part of the van that I'm going to fill with wool, now that I have the trim panels off, are the pillars. So there's a pillar here at this door, one on the opposite side, and the 2 pillars opposite in the windows over there. Those are big C channels. So there's a lot of room in there to fill in with some wool, so that should really help. So I'm gonna do that quickly before I move on to putting the battens across the ceiling. Okay, well, we got those pillars done, as you can see there. And there, they're stuffed full of wool, along with this whole channel and the back corner on both sides of the van. So now it is time, finally, to do the ceiling. So we're gonna do the same method as before. There are holes through all of these cross members, and I'm hoping to basically tie the string off and just go back and forth, maybe with just one piece of string, and get this all strung up, and then it'll just hang the battens right there, and that should be good. Alternatively, you know, I could almost probably just rest them on this, considering this is going to go back up into place, but I'd like them to try and be held up on their own. So we're going to try the string thing first and see how it goes. So the string thing, that did not help this time. I was going across the van this way, so I think that was probably the problem. It would have been better had I been able to go front to back, but it was just going to be too difficult and time consuming to get the string to work their way through the holes. So I came up with an alternative plan, which is basically to use the existing headliner, which I'm going to put back in anyway, as kind of a substrate to just lay the wool on. I just put some painter's tape there just to kind of like gently hold it in place so it doesn't shift around while I'm putting it back up. So I've just got 2 little narrow pieces to cut to kind of fill in the last of the gap. I'm leaving these spots open where the holes are because that's going to meet up with these cross members and where the plugs go in to hold them up. So just got to make those 2 cuts and tape them down, And then, yeah, I think it's time to put the headliner back up, which is pretty exciting. So we'll see how it goes. It's also gonna be hard. It's gonna be difficult to do alone. I might have to get Kate out here to help me, so. Left. There we go. This is actually too high. All right, can you push forward gently? There you go. That's pretty close. This is still getting caught. Hang on.
Try to wiggle it out a little bit.
Push forward if you can. There we go. That's pretty close.
Do that.
You should be good now. Yay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, the headliner is back in. As you can see, I have a couple little trim pieces to get back in there, but basically it is up and secure, and I'm feeling really good about it. I know a lot of other van builds end up replacing the headliner, and I understand why. They're concerned with condensation, getting the most headspace, that sort of thing. But we're not going to live out of this van. This is a camping, hunting weekender. We're going to do most of our cooking outside if at all possible. So I'm not that concerned with condensation. That said, I did go with the wool for that reason, because it was easy to handle and mold and mildew resistant. I can talk to you more about that product and about Dynamat if you'd like me to. Just let me know in the comments below. We still have the front part of the cab to do, and I have ordered some more Dynamat. I think that's where a lot of the road noise is coming through the van, which makes it a little bit of a burden to drive on longer trips. So I'm gonna really Dynamat all the front wheel wells. The whole front cab area is gonna get Dynamated, the whole floor, 100% of it. I'm not doing only 25 or 50% coverage. I'm gonna really, get that solid and heavy, and we'll do the headliner and pillars as well, but that will have to wait for another day as we are headed over to a friend's. So thank you. That'll be chapter 3 in this video, and hopefully that'll be the end. So we'll see you then. Thanks, guys.